And now Todd will break down chapter 1, Does God Exist?
Take 17.
No.
That's my first try. Let's see. Chapter 1, Does God Exist? So every chapter is broken down into knowing, which is the first paragraph, and understanding, which is the next several pages. All right? So the knowing. The subtitle here is moving from faith into knowing and understanding. So, knowing. Does God exist? This is the biggest question that humans have had since the beginning of time. And the answer is, drum roll please, absolutely, unequivocally, yes. But understanding what God is and how it works is where the beauty is. If you read just one full chapter to get an understanding of the basics, it would be this one. So let's climb in and unpack what God is together.
I love that because that's one of the main questions that people ask, right? These NDE testimonials is, does God exist?
Yes, absolutely. So understanding. This is understanding. Many will read this first paragraph and think that religion was right all along, and maybe thinking now I have to be religious. After I explain what God is, you will soon realize that religion pales in comparison to its understandings of the inner workings of God. Now, please imagine an ocean of benevolent, loving energy large enough to envelop the whole universe, so vast that it can encompass every universe from every dimension. This energy is formless, but gives form to all things. It is invisible, but gives existence to all the things you see in front of you right now. This energy didn't directly create the words you are reading right now, me. Intent and free will were also required for that. But this energy did directly create the atoms within the physical pages or the digital content. Let me explain. Atoms exist through vibration, and these vibrations need an energy source because nothing can move without energy. This ocean of benevolent energy is the fuel for the vibrations of all atoms. The atoms in the food in your stomach, the atoms of oxygen in your lungs, the atoms that make up the earth, and the atoms that make up all the stars in the universe. Some people believe that we live in a kind of matrix, and they would be right. Every material object on this planet is made up of more space than actual matter, and this was scientifically proven in 1911 by Ernest Rutherford. This energy has created this 3D reality, but this environment just barely exists enough to fool our senses. God is the I am that creates everything that our senses can interpret. If it exists in this 3D reality, it is consistently being created by the source or God. Heaven is reality, and earth is the dream created for us to explore and enjoy. This benevolent energy creates everything without malice. This energy knows nothing of fear, hate, greed, anger, or judgment. These emotions are human constructs derived from being out of conscious contact with this energy source. Even though our souls are direct manifestations of this energy source, we are submerged into these vessels or bodies that add layers of resistance to reconnecting with this energy. This energy is often called source, sometimes spirit, but most people know it by the name of God. God's benevolent energy permeates all things, whether they are aware of it or not. The energy that is God is genderless and without bias, meaning that this energy that is God isn't just masculine or just feminine. It's both, and it doesn't treat people differently due to religious beliefs, which are just interpretations of a book. This new paradigm will require us to level up our understanding of what is, or we are doomed to keep repeating the old cycles of judgment and fear of our forefathers. And so it is.
And so it is. Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
I think you really encompassed. I mean, it's hard to really define God because God is everything.
Right.
God, like
at all times.
At all times, God is everywhere.
Right.
God
the
is
energy,
everything.
I'm not going through this desk because energy's creating the atoms that have the bonds to keep me from going through it. The energy creates the desk. The energy creates this tapestry. The energy creates the mics and the air that we breathe.
And we are all made from that. That is our source.
Right.
God is our source. God is our power. God is the essence that is in all things. And we are never separate from that. But when we are in our human, dream, like you say, in this 3D reality, we go through the veil of forgetfulness.
Right.
And we forget that we are one with all.
Right. And that's on purpose. That's intended. Because when on the other side of the veil, things are very, very easy. It's love all the time. There's no fear, judgment, hate, greed, ego on the other side of the veil. We come here.
Because there's no division.
Yes, there's no division. We have to learn to overcome it on our own. When you learn to overcome it on your own, it's not knowledge anymore. It's wisdom. Because you created it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Somebody can teach you how to do something, grow a tomato plant, right? But when you do it enough times and you mess up enough times, you don't have knowledge anymore. You have wisdom. You can know what to do, but you also know what not to do and why.
Well, and that's why they say that that's a mistake, right?
Right.
And then they say that that's a sin.
Right.
Because sin is actually an archery term of missing the mark.
Right.
So you either got it on perfect and you won, or you're learning.
Right.
Right? You're either on point and on target, or you're strengthening yourself and you're getting experience.
Right, right. We don't come here to say an oath to some entity and then we're good to go. No, you're here to learn unconditional love, and that's a much, much, much longer, more arduous task. And they're just saying, I'm going to come here and say an oath to Jesus and everything's great. It's like, no, that was sold to you by some religious people. We don't come here to take an oath. We've already made the oath to love. On the other side of the veil, we took an oath to love, not an oath to any entity.
Right.
Right, because God is love. So when we come here and we do that, and we learn love unconditionally for all, and I'm like, well, I love everybody that I see. It's like, great. You love LGBTQ? How about immigrants? How about them Dems? You like them Dems? How about China? You like them too? If you said no to any of those, then you will be coming back. And you might be coming back as the people you've overly scrutinized, so just know that. Because our souls are not bound to any ethnicity or any country or any gender.
And with that being said, sometimes it's our human side of us has those judgments. Right. And that's through our ego.
Right.
And that's why it's our job to remember that we are the essence and vibration of love, and that our consciousness gets to choose how that shows up.
Right.
And if it shows up in somebody that, looks different from us, it's our job to remember we are one.
Right.
If somebody says other things or has other political ideas that we don't like, we also have to remember I am the same essence that is, but we are vibrating on different frequencies.
Right.
I am vibrating more on the frequency of love, unity, peace, oneness, harmony, whereas the other, which is not really an other, but it's another aspect of me, of the one, is vibrating at maybe a different frequency of anger, fear, judgment, punishment. But that's still a manifestation of God.
Right.
Right? And so it's like, just remembering that God is all there is, and God is love. So love is all there is.
Love is all there
and
is.
There's either a call for an awareness of more love, or to embrace and celebrate the love that we already recognize. It's either more love, not less.
Right.
It's either love or fear. So we're either going to stay in that fear and add more of that, or we're going to add more love into the experience.
Right. So, yeah.
So any final thoughts on Does God Exist? Chapter 1 of God is Greater Than Religion.
As this book goes on, it breaks down the importance of realizing that God is love, and God is not judgmental, hateful, vengeful. These are all human constructs.
Exactly.
That does not exist on the other side of the veil. When you go back home, people are like, so there is God and we're going to meet God. It's like, no, you're not going to meet God. You're going to be enveloped by God's energy. God is energy. God isn't a guy with some energy coming out of his fingertips, right?
That's separate, yeah.
God is the energy itself.
Right. And we return back to that like a drop in the ocean.
Right.
It's not separate anymore. It's now back into that
And if
water.
God was a man and God was in a man's body, God would be limited. God is not limited. God is omnipresent. God is the energy itself and can flow anywhere.
It's formless.
God is the energy between the atoms. So in that space, that's where God resides, not inside of some human form.
And we remember that God energy makes up us. So I am that I am.
Right. And there's one more point. So I just said something about God is not in some human form, but we're made in the image of God, right?
Oh, correct. Right.
Correct. Right. God's vibration will create a vessel that has a torso, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head, and walks upright. So remember that. We are made in God's image, but the vibration of God will create a vessel like that. So a dog and a cat, not the vibration of God. Do they have souls? Yes, they have very small souls compared to ours, but they do have souls. But they're not there's not in God's image. God's vibration will create our type of vessel, a humanoid vessel. So just to get that cleared up.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for watching. And join us on the next segment of God is Greater Than Religion.